action in the English Premier League is hotting up, but Merseyside derby usually means Liverpool are chasing the title and Everton usually trying to stay in the league or just assure themselves of a place in the Premier League. But this time, it's pretty much different. Everton seem like they don't have a lot to play for, still have a shot to get into Europe, though. But for Liverpool, after getting eliminated from the UEFA Champions League, Dan, what is this season like for Liverpool now? This isn't a Merseyside derby that would be maybe one of the most important ones in the last few years, but it is pretty important for the Liverpool manager, Arne Slot.
Certainly is now after last night's defeat to PSG. No trophy this season after the highs of last time around. So all the focus is on a top 5 finish in the Premier League. So yes, vitally important, this Merseyside derby. And of course, it's a Merseyside derby that will take place with no Hugo Ekitike, who's just been ruled out for 9 months. So not only a big blow to any French World Cup hopes in the summer, but also a big blow to Liverpool in trying to get over the line for a top 5 finish. So a lot riding on this one. It's going to be another intriguing Merseyside derby.
Let's leave Liverpool to the side for a bit. When Everton moved grounds from Goodison to the Hill Dickinson Stadium, there was that thought, especially in the first few weeks, that they might maybe not be used to that surrounding, but it's a bit different now. How have you seen that stadium move? Obviously, they had to make it for financial reasons, but how do you think they've acclimatized to the Hill Dickinson Stadium since they've arrived there?
Well, in fairness, they've not really had the best results at the new grounds. Admittedly, they've won their last 2 at home, but they've only won 6 out of 16. So you could argue that the move has not been overly beneficial, but you could also say that their football is suited to be better away from home, and that's reflected in the results they've got on the road. They are the 4th best team in the Premier League. So I don't think it's necessarily the stadium has been a negative factor. Obviously, as you say, it had to happen. It was a creaking ground, Goodison Park, so the move was a necessity. I think the away form has obviously absorbed the indifferent results at home, but they are finding form at the right time. So if they do manage to get into Europe, I think they can get that first season at their new ground out of the way and then sort of build on that. It's always a kind of strange transfer from one ground to another. Tottenham have been through the same in the past sort of 6-7 years. So I don't think there'll be too many complaints. It's a nice ground. It's certainly an improvement on what they had in the past. But as I say, I think the fact that they are getting so much done away from home is perhaps overshadowed the lack of results at Hill Dickinson and maybe made it less of a talking point.
Well, for Liverpool, though, Arne Slot, there's been a lot of talk around what is the minimum requirement to keep him in the job. I thought Liverpool weren't that bad against PSG in the second leg, but you really can't argue that PSG deserved to go through over those 2 legs. How do you think he's judged at the end of the season? Do you really think there's a scenario where he keeps his job as Liverpool manager at the end of the season?
I think it boils down to whether they get back into the Champions League. If they do, then I think he earns the right
Will
to at
that
least...
be enough? We'll stay getting a Champions League place now. Will that be enough?
I think it does. I think it earns him the right to start next season. If they're in the same 4th, 5th position going into, say, October, November, I think then they have that difficult conversation. I think there is obviously mitigating circumstance with the passing of Diogo Jota. Obviously, Isak's injury, Mo Salah's dropping form. There's been a lot of elements which have made this season difficult for Liverpool. Slot's not absolved from any blame. I think he's obviously been tactically naive at times, but I think he will just do enough. I think there's just enough credit after winning the league last season to say, okay, get us in the Champions League. We'll go again. We'll see what we can do with a clean slate. But as I say, I think if that's not the case and they don't get the top 5, I think we'll be having a chat about who the new Liverpool manager is.
Do you think it does feel like there will be a domino effect as far as managers are concerned at the end of the season? It seems to have started already with Andoni Raiola, the Bournemouth manager, confirming he will not be at Bournemouth next season. Do you think maybe also whoever is available in the summer could maybe change Liverpool's minds? Like, Xabi Alonso is still out there and everyone thinks he's going to end up as Liverpool manager at some point. Andoni Raiola now is available. He's a very, very decent manager. Do you think it's maybe not down to how he performs in the last few matches, or maybe it's down to just who might be available in the summer?
Of course, there's always that variable of who does become available. The manager market is looking more and more fluid by the week. You've got Manchester United have still got to claim a new manager for themselves. There's obviously the fallout of the World Cup. If a national team doesn't do the business, then there could be discussions there. So you are right in the sense that it's not just results. It's about, is your head turner thinking, is there a better option? I think Liverpool will be weighing up what's available at the moment. Iriola's not a bad shout at all. I think the Spanish club might get there first, if I'm honest. But of course, there is Xabi Alonso. There might even be Enzo Maresca. It's all a lot of moving parts at the moment. So I guess clubs will also be keen to react to changes before other teams. So do Liverpool need to make a change before Manchester United try and make their change? It's all about getting there first, really, with the contenders that are on offer. But it might be that the net is now starting to widen.
All right, so let's talk about the game itself, the Merseyside derby. Liverpool obviously have to win, following back-to-back losses to PSG in the Champions League. How do you think Liverpool's set up for this one? How exactly do they get the better of their bitter local rivals?
Well, I think they've got to be sharper in defence. Obviously, with no Ekatike, they might have to thrust Alexander Isak in from the start. Whether he's fit or not, we don't really know. It didn't quite pay off in terms of a PSG gamble in midweek. So, obviously, with Liverpool, it seems you can have one of those strikers, but you can't have both at the moment for all the outlay that they've had. I think really they've just got to just raise their game by 10% all over the pitch. They were okay against Fulham last weekend. They weren't made to sweat too much. I think the first half performance got them over the line. There was a few scares in the second half, but I think that's got to be the baseline. I think just sort of building on that and getting their confidence back. But Everton are going to be in no mood to roll out the red carpet, especially with their European hopes increasing with every point they get. So they're going to be just in the mood to upset their local neighbours.
All right, so let's put our betting caps on for this one. In the betting market, how you go with this one?
I like the look of an Everton win, actually. I just think with Everton winning 2 at home, Liverpool can't seem to sort of string 2 good performances together. Too much inconsistency. If I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be looking at this and thinking, with the gap we've got over Chelsea and the rest, a point wouldn't be the worst result, but I think it's going to be the worst result for Liverpool. I think Everton are going to upset their noisy neighbours and get all 3 points. So I think it's a great price for an Everton win. Why not go with that momentum and see what comes with it? So yes, 3 points to the Toffees in this one.
Final question, one answer. Arne Slot Liverpool manager next season?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Dan. Details as always.
Thanks, Tolu. Cheers, mate.